Takeoff, it's over here. If you'll rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here we are, and it's November. Who could believe it? Review of the minutes. Monthly Town Board meeting, October 3rd, 2019.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Special Town Board meeting of October 11th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. That was a big one. That was for the construction of the town hall. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
Okay, the Conservation Board met on October 9th. Basically, the issues were recurrent issues regarding both the Wallman application in addition to Lake Surprise. The Lake Surprise was mostly to update the board regarding the DEC's work and so forth that they're coordinating with the project. This has been ongoing for a while. The project involved a series of drainage issues. It was determined that the drains, though, however, did not really take into account the wetlands issues. So therefore, between the DEC and the town wetlands regulations had to be adjusted and dealt with and complied with. In addition to that, there was an enforcement action taken against Lake Surprise in that they cut roadways through forest areas which were not permitted. And obviously, they're in a situation of restitution, and an in-depth discussion went on regarding exactly how that's to be performed. That requires trees of certain lengths, required to be planted in certain areas, but also must be guaranteed for over a number of years. So those two matters took place then. The Wallman application has been ongoing. This is basically a single-family home with a garage, and normally it wouldn't probably be an overall big deal. However, the majority of the property is actually not buildable, which forces them to actually work in a small back quadrant of the property. The difficulty is trying to be able to get the desired house square footage, the garage, and the actual roadway, the driveway, and the septic and its reserve out of the 100-foot buffer. Obviously, we have a town regulation that requires that construction stay out of the 100-foot buffer unless it's actually necessary. Especially, there are higher restrictions, of course, against new construction. We've done a lot of work with the applicant back and forth. We've met a few times, actually, to discuss, to try to work out issues with it. They are, of course, looking at recommendations that were made by the Conservation Board that night. The short of the story is hopefully they'll be able to come back in the next meeting with a plan to be able to comply with it. The bigger story here also is a lot of our properties now are getting to a point where there isn't an awful lot of easily buildable property left. And because of that, people are going to have to start to seriously think about maybe reining in some of their needs or wants anyway, meaning the size of houses might have to actually be decreased in square footage. Garages, if they're possible, maybe or not, but that's not really under our domain to have to really approve garages. So a lot has to be done, I think, going forward regarding if you're going to purchase a piece of property, you need to go to the building inspector, wetlands inspector. If you even if you don't suspect you may have wetlands on the property, it's a good idea to go there to ask. Depending on the project size, of course, if it's over 3,000 square foot, you can go to planning. So there are a number of things to take a look at prior to purchasing property. I say this because the Wallman application is not the only one that we've been dealing with lately, but it is a series of them that we've dealt with, and word needs to get out to people to be able to start to think about this ahead of time, prior to purchase, that these kinds of standards are there, and they're there for reasons. They're there to protect the environment. And we want to do the best we can to try to work with applicants, and we are, but however, there are limits, and hopefully people become more and more educated regarding that. We also had Roberta Muller come in regards to our natural resource mapping. Something that has been going on, and that got into a good discussion, but something that's been happening back and forth is a lot of our groups are talking between each other. Zoning, planning, conservation, along with the comprehensive plan, and Hudson Highlands Reserve and so forth. There's a lot of discussions going on back and forth in order to climate smart, to be able to, because we're all overlapping, and we want to make sure that what actions are being taken in certain groups are not interfering with other areas. So that's really what's happening. So if you kind of attend certain meetings and you see a number of different people there discussing different topics, that's what's happening. We have a number of projects going on in the town, and we need to make sure that they all, work together, that we don't have problems at the end of the completion of those. Okay, and our next meeting is November 13th.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation.
Good evening. I attended the October 29th meeting of the Recreation Commission here, and I'm happy to report that the winter program is out for registration. It opened up for residents October 28th, and for non-residents this week, November 4th. We also had the Castle to River Run on October 19th, and that was a wonderful race with over 200 runners coming to Philipstown. And I was happy to volunteer with my daughter Megan to greet the runners in the morning, and with many of the board members here, as well as commission members and the friends of Philipstown Recreation. And the race raised over $10,000 for recreation programs, which is wonderful. The Rec Commission also has a production, the Depot Theater reported about its production of Young Frankenstein, which opened. And it's running through next weekend, so I would urge everyone to get tickets because they're selling out fast. And I've heard it's hilarious. I have tickets for next weekend. The Rec Center is also looking for, it is planning a senior luncheon for November 20th and urges seniors to register for the luncheon. And the Rec Commission will be planning next year's Castle River Run, so anyone who wants to volunteer for any of these activities, please let the Recreation Department know. Amber Stickle is the Director of Parks and Recreation here at Philipstown Rec. Thank you. Oh, the next meeting I wanted to mention is not in November. The Rec Commission will be meeting December 3rd because of the holidays, the Thanksgiving holidays.
Thanks, Judy. The Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub had its grand opening on Saturday, October 19th, and it was a wonderful day with many members of the community, many small businesses, and the director, Daniel Pack McCarthy, as well as the chair, Shannon Keegan, and all the members of the board, donors, and people that actually are using the hub. It's been a great success, and the hub has incorporated the Philipstown Coalition, which will be meeting, its next meeting is January 8th. So if you are part of the Philipstown Coalition, it will be meeting at a location to be determined. The Philipstown Hub is also planning a concert this Saturday. Dara Williams has agreed to do a benefit concert. I mean, she volunteered to do it, and she's a wonderful performer, and there might be a few tickets left, I'm not sure, but it is a great night to support the Philipstown Hub on Saturday. November 9th. November 9th at the Chapel for Restoration in Cold Spring Village. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Judy. Planning Board.
Planning Board. I attended at the Planning Board meeting on September 19th. There was 2 public hearings. Both of these are reporting on the last several months. The first one was Claudia Moth, 120 Skyline Drive. They've been reporting on this for quite some time. As I said, there was a site visit back on August 25th. They're looking to construct a 5,000 square foot home. They decided to move the home back a little bit ways so it wouldn't be in such a steep slope. As Mike indicated, there's a lot of steep slopes in the area. So they moved the area of the house back so it won't be in steep slopes. So that was a good thing. So they're also in Ridgeline area. So that was another issue that they had as well. But so they adjusted the roof level as well to protect the roof ridgeline as well. During the public hearing, there was only one person who actually spoke, and that was a neighbor. He's in favor of the project, but he was concerned about drainage. Those drainage issues were addressed at that meeting by Glenn Watson, and the board is going to set a resolution for next month to pass this. But right now, and Ron Gaynor is in the process of doing all the paperwork to get that passed for next month. The other public hearing was Daniel Shelblin and Miney Fernando. That's 359 East Mountain Road. Again, I reported on that several months ago. They're building a modest house up on East Mountain Road. There was really no comment whatsoever of the public hearing this time. There was a public hearing a month or so ago, but everyone was in favor of the project. That also had steep slopes as well. They moved the house there as well to add a steep slopes area. This house is going to be a passive solar home, so it's going to reduce our carbon footprint. As you know, we're a climate-smart community, so it's a good thing that these people are doing this active solar system on their house, so it's reduced the carbon footprint as well. The board will prepare a resolution for next month. It should be passed. Old business, 1122 Route 9 Realty, the golf station right up the street from here on the corner of 9 and Nelson Lane. They want to put a canopy up. This is the only gas station in Philipstown without a canopy. They also want to sell used cars. They withdrew their application to sell used cars. I think that was the biggest concern that everyone had months ago. They didn't want the citizens in the area didn't want to have used cars a lot in their backyard. So they withdrew that application for the used cars, and they're going to approve the canopy. The canopy is going to be a nice canopy. It's going to have no advertisements on it whatsoever. It's supposed to be a nice roof and everything like that. And the lighting underneath the canopy it's going to be directing the lights down, not out into the street into anyone's neighbor's yard or anything like that. So the lights will only be in operation from 5 a.m. to midnight. That's what their operations are. The board approved this 5-0. The last thing on the two other items on the agenda were, which are new business, Joel Hunt and William Potter, site 201 Moog Road. They're looking to put a nice pool in the yard, again, in a steep slope area. So there was some concerns about that. I was at the site visit that took place on October 27th. All the members of the planning board did attend. Majority of them really had no issue with it, but it is in a 20% slope area. One concern did come up about the chemicals that are used for the pool. For some reason, if that pool collapsed or anything like that, what would happen to the chemicals? Anyway, it's going to be a saltwater pool, so there will be no chemicals that could damage the environment as well.
That's not true.
Well, that's
Right.
what they're saying.
Yeah, but saltwater pool is just taking salt and converting the chloride out of it into chlorine, so it's the same thing. It's just,
I guess the biggest concern with the aqueduct isn't too far away from where this pool
yeah, they get
is,
chlorinated
of
water,
course.
comes down.
Anyway,
I'd be wondering how they're gonna back flush it.
so anyway, it was considered classified as a major project. We referred to the Conservation Board, and also an unlisted action under seeker. Like I said, a site visit was October 27th. So they'll be at the planning board at the next month meeting. Another item on the agenda month was very new, CRS Industries, a self-storage warehouse on Route 9, right by the Texas barbecue, up a little bit from that. Originally, that was planned for a self-storage unit. Right now, that company is on the corner of J. Cox Road and Route 9. As you know, that's a pretty dangerous area right now. They got trucks backing in there quite a bit. I'm really surprised over these years that there's never been an accident there with a truck backing in a tractor trailer in that area. So they're not shutting down that area, that other building that I'm just talking about, and not moving the whole operations up to here. But this is in the plan, this is in infancy phases of this project right now. They just came to the board to let them know what they're doing. They really didn't have any site plan or anything like that, an official site plan. They had a drawing, but it's not official. But they're looking to put a 21,000 square foot building up there, 14,000 square feet of warehouse space, and 7,000 square feet of office space. So there'll be more to report on that next month as well. The meeting was adjourned at 9:30. Next meeting will be November 21st.
Thanks, Bob. Zoning.
Excuse me. I attended the October 7th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. There were 3 public hearings. First one was Robert and Susan Freeman, 29 Travis Corners Road. The applicant was seeking a side yard setback. The variance hearing was held, and the variance was approved. George Lansbury, 267, 269 Avery Road. Mr. Lansbury was also seeking a side yard setback. This hearing was held, and that variance was also approved. The third hearing was for Rick and Mark Ventura at 1 Lane Gate Road. This was a lengthy discussion, which none of them were satisfied that there was enough discussed. So and it is all available on the minutes. I'm not going to get into a description of what happened. But the next meeting will be November 18th, and that public hearing will be continued for that night as well, so. That's it.
The hits keep coming, that show never ends.
Yeah, hopefully next month, get into it, because it'll be the third month in a row.
Highway.
Highway, Philipstown Town Board members, Carl Frazenda, work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of October. The highway crews are busy doing full variety of fall upkeep work, grading, repairing drains, pipe jobs, patching, blacktop roads, clearing waterways, mowing, and leaves. The highway crews assisted in the town hall to move their temporary office to the old VFW. Paving was done to make sure residents and employees have parking availability. A new sickle bar attachment for the tractor, which was ordered this summer and paid for with dollars coming from Auction International, has finally arrived. There is plenty of mowing work left to look after. Another new piece of equipment, a Kubota skid steer, which is being funded through CHIPS, has been added to the highway fleet. It is similar to the Bobcat and has interchangeable attachments. This will allow two crews to work on separate jobs and eliminates waiting time for the same machines. Notice to bidders article was published to the Putnam County News and Recorder and the Highland Current on Wednesday, October 30th for 2020 bids for the Highway Department. Bids will be opened on November 20th, 2019. Due to renovations at the Town Hall, bids should be picked up at 34 Kemble Avenue. Please make note of a different submission address as they differ when submitting by mail or by FedEx. A reminder to all motorists on the roads, please slow down. There have been numerous calls regarding safety issues due to speed. With the high volume in cars on our roads these days, the safety of everyone depends on it. We would like to welcome Thomas Bradley to the highway family. Tom joined the crew when Paul Lockwood retired last month. Welcome aboard. The Highway Department will be closed for Election Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, and the day after. The Highway Department received 25 phone calls regarding road complaints and issues for October. The Highway Department spent roughly $6,585 on vehicle maintenance and repair for the month of October. Above submitted, Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent. I'd like to thank Carl as well as the rec crews for all the help that they gave us with moving both the court and the town hall employees. So,
Yeah, and also for going down and getting that paving done, some
Yeah.
more parking in the mud.
absolutely.
He's a swell egg, that Carl.
Yes, sir.
Building and land. What do you want to say?
We're close.
We're very close.
We're actually close to construction. So
Yeah, I mean,
there's a
we haven't
couple.
signed any contracts yet.
No. Steve was in touch with Rhinebeck today, so they're working on some final issues with PVS, the general contractor. They're hoping to start the asbestos and lead abatement mid-November, and then general construction should begin the first week of December. So that's the game plan right now.
All right. So I wonder when we're going to receive the first invoices.
Probably signing a contract. I mean, I don't know how it's written, but
They don't get any money up front.
no.
Wonder if we're going to be able to put it off until next
Sure.
year. That would help us out.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah, we're good for it. Putnam County Legislator Nancy Montgomery.
Hi there,
Hey,
how are you?
good.
My name's Nancy Montgomery. I'm the Putnam County Legislator, and I'll just report on a couple of things so you can get to business here, just stuff that I've been working on. One, I'm going to be co-hosting with MISN, which is a not-for-profit agency, Mother Infants Service Network. They're a healthcare navigator, and because it's open enrollment, began November 1st, they will come to town on November 16th and set up shop at 10 North Street from 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. for anybody to come in and enroll in shop around for health coverage, renew your health coverage, anything. They will take care of all that, and it's great to have that one-on-one. It's a free service, and I'm really happy that they're coming to town. The other thing I was working on was with the Manitou School and Route 9D. There's a resolution before you. I don't know if you want to move to add it to the agenda or take a look at it and do it next. You guys are familiar with this. They were looking to create a school zone. I spoke to New York State DOT. Unfortunately, it doesn't warrant that yet because they don't want to encourage pedestrian traffic there as of now because there are no sidewalks. But in the meantime, we would like to see the acceleration piece of the road moved further south, so they decelerate before they, are in front of the school. So you see that resolution before you. Hopefully we can work on it. Today I was at the senior center. They have had public hearings throughout the county regarding the Office of Senior Resources 4-year plan. It was a very promising meeting and to see what they have plans for the future. I actually had lunch there and it was fantastic. So, I think I feel like it tonight. I really feel like it tonight. We, a long budget season, long election season, and, so here we are. And I think, that's, if you guys have any questions for me, that's all I have to work on right now.
Yeah, it's great. We'll move this tonight. Why
Okay,
not?
that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do you got? Cemetery Committee.
Okay, the cemetery committee met, and then both the village cemeteries to work in Mountain Avenue and Cedar Street. We had a number of tree limbs come down with these windstorms, so we basically realized that we needed to do a good cleaning there, because the landscaping crew's pretty much finished for the season. Also, we obviously went up to the North Highland Cemetery, which we've talked in the past about. We are identifying the graves up there that have structural issues. Again, this was brought out because while we were working in the 2 village cemeteries, it was realized that it might be more dangerous for us to wait and not take care of stability issues that could then cause more issues for us down the road. So we're looking at that. I also did some reviews in McKeel's Corner, which is a landlocked cemetery down by 301 and 9, and there are some issues there as well. We've actually had one grave actually slide down the hill. So there are stability issues, which are problems in our cemeteries. The other issue that we're following up on is ground radar, GPRS. I talked to Susan Kenny, the controller, working out the payroll, the payment issues, because it's a tricky business. It's not like they can just come in. They obviously, their rates were $600 for 1 hour or $900 for 4 hours. Well, obviously, you know which one I would rather have. For us, I think the 4-hour one made more sense. However, they can't really guarantee us exactly how long that will take. However, obviously, we would stay within those parameters. We had to give information such as, which won't be difficult for them because some of the areas we want checked go back to the American Revolution, so that you can just imagine how long we're talking time-wise. We aren't looking for square foot evaluations. We're really looking for, in particular, if you've been by the Mountain Avenue Cemetery, you know that there's an open knoll right near the Devonports, which is the oldest cemeteries that go back to the Revolution. And we want to try to find out whether, in fact, people are actually buried there. It is our belief that there are people there that worked in the foundry, but that's just a belief. We don't know that for sure. The other thing is that the Mountain Avenue Cemetery and the Cedar Street Cemetery are only separated by a very small road. If you take a look at the 1852 maps, it doesn't really define very well where the cemeteries began and ended. So I'd like for them to be able to go up there. Granted, obviously, when you're dealing with blacktop, it is a tougher area to evaluate. And then they'll actually take a look at that particular corner as well, because there are committee members that have heard from people in the town regarding, and Nancy looked at it once before with dealing with how far does the graves encroach upon that roadway itself. So those are the actual particular areas that we would be looking for an evaluation to be performed. So that's what we're hoping to be able to handle, and I talked to Susan about how we can work that out. And our next meeting is November 12th. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Ta-da.
Okay,
I don't see Linda Brady.
I believe Nancy said she's not attending.
Okay. Well, we could do that right now, why not?
So pushy, I know.
Believe me, I'm used to it, all right? All right, we have a resolution for a speed reduction on Route 9D that's been presented by Legislator Montgomery on behalf of, I would imagine, the Manitou School and the residents in that area. So without reservation, I'd like to support it. Does anyone have any reservations about this?
I just wonder, are they gonna put some signs up to indicate this?
It's up to the DOT. What happens if when we request these things from the DOT, they want to see a resolution from the town. So it's up to the DOT. They'll just move the 30-mile-per-hour sign probably further south. Yeah, but yeah,
So it's still subject to the DOT?
it's yeah. this
Because
is-
we
can't
attempt,
do it.
right, we attempted this once down here,
Right.
from Garrison School to 403, we wanted to, and it was rejected, but, I mean, it's worth a shot. Why
Yeah,
not?
that,
We have
you know,
Powerhouse Board,
The
though.
ultimate goal is
Yeah.
to create, it's gonna be, it already is a sort of a pedestrian area. People like to walk to Boscobel, people like to ride their bikes there. So this is the first step in creating that. And the next step, obviously, I think people would like to see sidewalks there, and it goes along with our Clean Streets initiative that, we're working on, and Climate Smart and all that. So it's all part of the same package. Okay.
Trails Committee, I think, is working too on a
Yes.
trail there between Cold Spring Village and Boscobel, so that will help.
I mean, the farm market, when it's there, people are constantly walking through there. During Shakespeare, they're constantly walking through there. So, I mean, the DOT is always the last ones to get their head out of the sand and recognize that
Yeah.
an area is.
And I will do the same with the
pedestrian.
Traffic Safety Committee. I'll bring a resolution to them to get them to pass and send to DOT as well. And just so you know, I've been talking to DOT about Route 9 and Snake Hill and Travis Corners, that intersection, and, the awful accident we had there. And there's a lot of input from the public to do something about that. And our regional director, George Bentley, is looking at it. They can't really do anything until they get the accident report back, and then they'll assess it and determine what needs to be done there.
Even the placement of that sign that is immediately to your right is awful. When you pull up and you're at the stop line
To go south.
to go south, or either to pull out anywhere.
When you
that-
pull up on Travis Corners Road
Yes.
to go left or,
No, when you're across from Travis Corners, pulling out of Snake Hill,
okay,
that sign to the right is in exactly the wrong spot. It blocks your only vantage point.
I'll mention that to him. I
I mean,
might,
just simply moving that sign would make a huge difference.
okay.
All right, we have the resolution. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but essentially, whereas the increased activity on this road has also increased the amount of motorists who travel in excess of the speed in front of the school, therefore be it resolved, the town board and town of Philipstown respectfully request New York State Department of Transportation extend the 30-mile-per-hour zone to 1/4 mile south of Manitou School. Can I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Ta-da. What a swell bunch. All right. More
The next item is a discussion with regard to the Cold Spring Trolley.
transportation stuff. You started a whole cascade.
Good evening. I'm Eliza Starbuck. I am the president of the Cold Spring Chamber of Commerce and a member of the Trolley Committee. And this is Ann McBride and Rebecca Ramirez, who are the co-chairs of the Chamber's Trolley Committee.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having us and taking the time to view our proposal, which we've sent you guys. So you guys should all have copies of it. And we're not going to walk through all of it because it's kind of lengthy.
Thank you.
But really, we just kind of want to highlight the important points of it. And we put together this proposal. We started working on this this year as a reaction to a meeting that we had to just get, it was a chamber meeting where Vinnie presented the trolley program for the year. And then we had a lot of questions, and our members of the community and of the chamber were interested in finding ways to make the trolley more functional and useful to the community and to our visitors. So that's what this comes out of. And so this year, the whole team, especially Rebecca and Anne, have been working on asking our residents, asking the leadership of the institutions that are on the trolley route, such as Boscobel, Manitoga, the different cultural arts institutions in general. We've been surveying the community, and we have results from the surveys in this report. But basically finding out what is valuable and what's important to improve upon. And from that information, we've come up with our general recommendations. And the main goals would be to improve the service, to increase ridership, to influence tourism traffic flow in a way that is more conducive and reduces bottlenecking, and connect our residents and visitors with cultural and historic destinations and the business areas and local main streets. So the main proposals that we're making to the county's transportation department has to do with making the loop of the trolley route one continuous loop, and then adding signage at specific stops. And that was one of the biggest comments, was that people didn't know where to catch the trolley, and therefore it didn't really work for them. So through our presentation, we kind of give you examples of the signage. We've worked up designs. Anne's been working on graphic design and communication design that would allow the public to know where to catch the trolley. And we sort of outline all the different stops that would connect Cold Spring to Garrison to Beacon, which is part of the plan. And the program is federally funded and also partially funded by Putnam County tax dollars. So it's required to connect multiple areas. It can't just stay in Cold Spring. But through our process, we've presented this to Cold Springs Village Board and Trustees, to Nelsonville's Village Board and Trustees, and to all the cultural institutions who have met, and they've provided their feedback. So this presentation represents a sort of finalized version with updates based on everyone's feedback. And that feedback included things like reducing stops in Cold Spring Village to help with traffic issues there, adding stops to Nelsonville where they have issues of like parking issues for hiking trails, and they would rather have public transportation get them there. And then just the importance that the trolley holds for the cultural institutions getting people from the train station to, say, Manitoga. So let me think. I'm going to hand it over to these guys and see if is there anything else I missed?
I think that's pretty much it. Those are the major.
Those are the main things. You know, we want to see the trolley branded. We also hope and are working with the county to update sort of the communication systems like Google Transit so that people can actually find it on public transportation options through Google Transit. And we're recommending that they find a way to do like a day pass pricing for next year, because it was only $2 and every ride you had to have $2 single dollars. So we're recommending that they do a day pass for $5, and seniors would be a half price.
That they pass the hop and go anytime they get on and off all day long, right?
That's right. They could hop on and off. And we've got a team of people. Lydia Langley's been working on the Instagram and social media, so we've been actually marketing it, again, trying to get the word out and trying to get more people interested in using it, because we see it as a valuable resource that our county funds and spends money on, and we want it to be useful to everybody, including our residents. So I think that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any questions for us?
Our
Whoops.
cultural institutions, Eliza, you mentioned having more, are they finding there are more visitors because of the trolley coming from the train station?
That's right. Specifically, we got feedback from Manitoga that said that their tours have filled out because the trolley now connects visitors that are coming up by train to their tours, and they've set it up so that it goes at the same time that the trolley arrives.
So the tour schedule's aligned with the trolley?
They did that this year, and we hope that we can work with them to keep that going. They also said that every time there was like a article about it in the New York Times, their visitor numbers increased and went through the roof. So it has been really effective helping Magazzino, Boscobel, Manitoga, those that are harder to get to if you're coming by train.
On a good day, do you know what the ridership was, like one of your best days with 50 people, 100, 150, anyone? Do you know what that number would be?
He said he was going to give us the numbers, but I don't think we've gotten them yet.
Yeah, we don't.
Just curiosity.
Yeah.
But we have been told that the ridership this year, because of our efforts, had more than doubled. So we produced a map and schedule and printed it and distributed it through the visitor center and the different businesses on Main Street, and I think that helped increase ridership and make it more accessible.
The village has been more crowded than I've ever seen. It's been unbelievably crowded.
Is this all 12 months, or does it stop in the winter time with the trolley?
It ends this
It
weekend,
ends, right?
actually.
Yeah, so it runs from, is it,
Memorial Day.
yeah, Memorial Day till this weekend. And there's actually going to be a last ride event party this Sunday at 4 o'clock. We're going to give apple cider and donuts, and everyone can ride for free. So if you are around and want to give it a spin, please come.
All right, well, thank you. It's sort of astounding that it's taken, the county this long to sort of get an idea that you need to put a sign at a bus stop, essentially, because the trolley, but they move slow over there. But thank you for your efforts on this, because it does seem like it's a sort of an underutilized resource when you see the trolley go by for many years with no one on it. And people walking all over the place, walking great distances to the trailheads who would probably really like to have a ride.
Right,
Yeah,
and
so
it connects the
Trying to
trails
align
too.
those two, that's a great mission. Well, thank you.
That's our pleasure.
perfect. Thanks very
Thank you
much.
for seeing us.
Coming in.
Yes. Up to the microphone, come on, right up to the mic.
So at the very end of the proposal, you'll see a vision for the future. So I heard Nancy mention Climate Smart and a couple of others of you. So we do mention that to them, and we say, we'd like for you to consider perhaps, different vehicles in the future. So we would love your support in also writing letters and pushing and getting them to think about that next phase whenever a new trolley is purchased. Just remember that. Vehicles.
Has this, can I ask you, been presented, or do you plan to present that proposal to the Climate Smart Task Force for hybrid?
The Climate Smart Task Force was actually at one of our presentations in Nelsonville at the trustees. We could potentially present that if they feel or you feel that that would be a valuable meeting. Definitely, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing Town Clerk Mirando and Highway Superintendent Frisenda to sign the linear speed limit request for Winston Lane and forward said request to the New York State Department of Transportation.
All right, well, we heard from Carl on this, we also heard from residents on the road that people are really flying through there, especially with the great job that Carl did on the road down there, so now it's turned into a race course. But we definitely would love to support this, so could I get a motion authorizing the town clerk and the highway super to request this speed limit request.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the 2020 agreement between the town and Judith Maley for legal services.
All right, Judy Maley is a great attorney. Every time I've ever worked with her, I've been nothing but pleased. Just a consummate professional and somebody who really instills a lot of confidence in her clients, and us being one of them. So I have nothing but praise for this firm and Judy Maley in particular. So they're looking for a $5 increase in their rates, which I think is worth it. We don't use them a lot, but we do use them in labor disputes and union disputes. So when she comes in, it's all business. We don't have anything to worry about. So I would like to keep retaining them. So with that, I'd like a motion on the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. I'm going to sign this right now and give it to you, Tina. Pass that down. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Shea to sign the filming permit for Colors of Spirits on November 9th, 2019, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. at Manitou Station Road.
I don't see any issue with this. We do get the film permit fee, so that's always good for us.
Whereabouts on that road did it take place, you know?
No idea. I'm not in this one.
So you're not interested?
There's gonna be on the new road,
We couldn't work it
the
out.
new road,
West of Manitou Woods, it says.
I'm
It
sorry.
says west of Manitou Woods.
Manitou Station, oh, west of Manitou Woods,
But that's right down.
right at the bottom.
At the bottom?
Where it's
Yeah.
sinking.
It's not sinking
Well,
anymore.
Not anymore, that's
It's
right.
sinking, but it's just, we raised it, but
Slow.
it's going down.
Well, I think everything is fine with this. So could I get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye, thank you.
Okay, the next is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report. Fees collected, $41,579.65. There were 38 total numbers of permits issued, 4 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 34 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc., 25 COs issued, 2 stop work orders issued, 6 inspections of public assembly, and 1 inspection of commercial occupancies.
Tell you, since we've hired Greg Winter, people just feel so comfortable coming in that, you know, people just take permits for things they never used to. They just go ahead and do them and then beg forgiveness later on. But it really has worked out because he's so reasonable and easy to work with. So our thanks to Greg on that.
Okay, and the next report is for the Village of Cold Spring. The fees collected was $2,116, 7 permits issued, 1 addition, alteration, or repairs to residential buildings, 6 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc., 8 COs issued, and that is it.
Beautiful.
While we're talking about it, are we still going forward with covering for the village?
I'm not going to talk about that right now.
Okay, just.
Workshops.
You
So,
have to adopt it by the 20th.
so the 20th is a Wednesday?
Yes.
Why is the 20th ringing a bell in my head? Is that the senior luncheon?
Yes.
So-
Senior luncheon.
That's a busy day. We might as well just go ahead and carry right on through the night, you know?
Turkey sandwiches.
Bring turkey sandwiches and just get
We'll
it
fall
done.
asleep.
So let's go ahead and do that. That'll be a short meeting anyway. I mean, the work's done. So we'll meet on the 20th to adopt the budget.
Yes, sir.
I have a couple of things here. One is if anyone has a nomination for the Putnam County Youth Bureau Award, the Volunteer Service Awards, they have to be in by Wednesday, November 27th. And I'm trying to think where they're trying to see where the nomination form is available online at the Youth Bureau website, putnamcounty.com youth/youth/youth awards nomination form. That's a tough one to articulate, but if anyone has a candidate that they'd like to nominate for the Youth Bureau Award, you can go on the county website and get to that Youth Bureau section. So I don't know if anybody from the board is thinking of anyone, but generally we have a couple of kids over there who are doing volunteer work and things like that. The other is that I met with Andy Moranti, who is the chairman of the planning board, and he is submitting his resignation, effective immediately.
Really?
Yes, which is not good for us. It says, "Dear Rich," that's me. "Much to my dismay, I must tender my resignation from the Philipstown Planning Board immediately due to health concerns which just became diagnosed. As much as I would like to continue my dealing with the health issue, will not allow me to concentrate all my efforts on upcoming matters before the board. I hope that this timing will allow you to find a replacement, a couple of whom are already on the board. I would not presume to interject, but the town would be well served by several of them. Sincerely yours, Anthony Moranti." I have worked with Andy for 20-plus years, and when I first campaigned, Andy was a real mentor to me, and just great to serve with on the board initially when I got on, and has been a great chairman for the planning board, really dedicated, up on the issues. Anybody who works with him knows. So we wish him the best and a speedy recovery, but I had a lengthy conversation with him today, and we'll reach out to the planning board and see who will step into that chairmanship, but it will be someone from the board. So,
Yeah, I'm
That's-
sorry to see Andy go. To be honest, I've been on doing the planning board now for 4.5 years, and it's always a pleasure to work with. Like you said,
Yeah, great
on top
guy.
of everything,
yeah,
keeps the meetings going the way they should be and so forth like that. So
yeah, he moves things along. He does.
Yeah, Andy's worked a great deal in the town when I was on the planning board. He was very helpful for me to get involved, and then when he had to step out for a short time and I had to do the chair, he was still available to help me out. So, I mean, he's fantastic. I hope people remember him for all the service he's done to this town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, many years on the boards, coaching sports.
Coaching Little League, I can remember.
Yeah.
For years.
Yeah, so, well, our best to Andy, but with that, I would entertain a motion accepting the resignation of Anthony Moranti from the planning board chairmanship.
Regretfully moved.
yeah, regretfully, yeah.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Andy, we're gonna miss you, but we'll see you around town, and
Yeah.
Yes.
we know you're available to consult with. Anything else from the board?
I'd just like to mention that the North Highlands Fire Department had a fatal fire on, it was Monday morning. The reason I'm mentioning it is people still don't have smoke detectors in their homes. I'm not sure if that house did or not, or whether it would have prevented it, but I spoke to some of the other residents of the trailer park and said that they don't have smoke detectors because it goes off too much when they cook. And it's just, in this day and age, to not have a smoke detector or a carbon monoxide detector in your house is really a risk. You should do it. And if you have them, just a reminder to check the batteries, because this is the week you're supposed to check them or replace them. So, just wanted to mention that. I also wanted to thank Tina and her crew at Town Hall, and also thank the clerks at the court for assisting with all the moving. I mean, everybody's been displaced over the last month. I think it kind of went seamlessly. You guys are up and operating. We were down for one day. Town Hall was closed for one day. The second day, we were up partially, but confused, a little out of sorts, but settled in now, and things are functioning. So I just wanted to thank you guys for everything that you've done there. So.
Yeah, I know the whole board appreciates that, and I also want to thank everybody on the board for their efforts in helping the move and getting people set up, especially Councilman Van Tassel. did a lot of physical construction down there.
Oh, really.
And Greg Warner, who
Greg, yeah.
really
glad
did a
to
lot,
set it
so.
up,
I know it's stressful for everybody to move out, but
And we still have loose ends, so we're aware of that. We'll get to them.
get down there, yeah, the honey-do list.
And then, one last thing, I apologize. The med box, the famous med box from Town Hall, we had proposed putting it on bolting it to a plate and leaving it at the temporary Town Hall facility. That idea was rejected. The DEA says it needs to be physically bolted to the floor. I know Legislator Montgomery's gonna follow up a little more with that, and Sheriff Langley was looking at some alternate locations that it could be physically bolted. The box does get utilized, so we
Yes,
need
it
to make
does.
sure we get it somewhere as soon as possible to keep the program alive, so.
Any thought of putting in the sheriff's station there in Nelsonville? 'Cause
But there's nobody there.
I don't know.
They're not there, they're out on the road, so.
I know that they're
We're gonna
quite
put
a
it at the
bit.
new county center that's right
Well,
in the
that's what
village.
Sheriff Langley's
Yep.
proposing,
That's a
but
good
it's,
idea.
it hasn't
Building
been,
right there, you got a lobby, you got the whole 9 yards.
it hasn't been finalized, but he's working on getting it. That's what Sheriff Langley's suggestion was, so I'm hoping that it's gonna work out. But we'll get it, we'll have it back in Town Hall once we have Town Hall finished. That we can pretty much guarantee, so.
One thing I will say about Sheriff Langley is he is available. He is in town, and he is everywhere all the time. I'm telling you, I see him 4 or 5 times a week, and I know everybody else in the county and all the other towns is seeing him a lot.
Yeah, he's out there.
There's four Langleys. It feels that way because I see him, there's not a week goes by that I don't see him 3 or 4 times. And he comes to town, I saw him twice this week.
Yeah.
So
He was at
already.
He was at the fire that morning, so, I mean, he's everywhere.
He's very concerned, so I think he's doing a great job.
I agree.
And I'd like to wish our veterans a happy Veterans Day on Monday and thank them for their service, Philipstown's veterans. And, you know, I know there are a lot of ceremonies this weekend to honor them. And we appreciate all that they've done for our country.
Absolutely. And we all know a lot of veterans.
Also, too, what the Lady of the Red Oak Church is holding on breakfast for the veterans Sunday morning from 9 to 11:30. So if anyone's interested in veteran coming, you're more than welcome. Our Lady of Loretto on Fair Street.
Yeah. Anything else?
I just have one other thing. We talked about the logging last year, and it's been close to a year. Are they gonna plan on starting this at all this
They
year?
are, they
Yeah?
submitted their escrow check. I just gave that to the comptroller today, and they do have a schedule, yeah.
Okay. Do you know when they're gonna start?
Not off the top of my head, but the
Okay.
Conservation
Just
Board
curious.
would definitely know, but he submitted all the requisite paperwork, he's got the permit from the DEC, and he's got the check in, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we watched that quite a bit when they came before us, and Craig, we looked at a lot of stuff along with Carl Facenda, with the road and everything, so.
Yeah.
I think we did a thorough check of it all, really.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I also want to actually congratulate and thank our Haldane varsity teams, the soccer and the volleyball teams for going to the championships. And, you know, we're very proud of them, and they thank them for their enthusiasm and great playing.
Yeah.
The next volleyball game is pretty local.
It's next Friday at O'Neill High School across
This Friday is
the river. A week from this Friday. a week
Right, no,
from
tomorrow night is the football game too. the
Tomorrow's the
sectionals
football.
in Mayapack at 5 PM.
So, yes, the football team has a great game too, so we're excited.
Yeah, them. But the girls,
Not the
Yes.
girls' football team.
Yeah.
No, this is the boys' football.
don't tell me about the team you played on, all right?
Soccer's going to state again.
Soccer's going to
Go
states,
Sox.
that's right.
That's right, you're amazing.
Soccer team is going to
I
state.
love soccer.
For a small school, Haldane is some powerhouse.
A lot of
I'll
athletes.
tell you, there are
Soccer team.
great
Yeah, I
coaching.
got it. Is that black and white ball?
The round one?
Just wondering what that thing
Other
was.
countries call that football. Like, what the hell is that? Oh,
Oh,
and that hurts.
No, it hurts John more.
Just because in my senior year, we went 1-7, what's the big deal? All right,
okay.
anything from the audience? Hello, Paula.
Hi, Paula Claire Garrison. I'm here to ask for a spot on either a town board meeting or a work session to discuss 5G. I've given you folders in which one thing in there is a sample law that has been developed by environmental organizations to address some of the problems that 5G presents. One of the things that it does is it's a law that indemnifies the town for any expenses incurred because of the cell towers and 5G. Another thing it asks is for the cell tower operator to give a bond, and we can put whatever amount we think is appropriate in that bond to, again, to cover any kind of harm or expenses incurred by the cell tower. I had understood that we did have some expenses from our recent cell tower that were not recovered from the company. Well, we all know that cell towers emit radiation 24/7, and 5G is different because it places small cell towers. I understand from either every 300 to 500 feet in towns. And this means that it could be very close to residences, will be very close to residences, and it could be outside people's bedroom windows. So, it's obviously not healthy to have 24/7 radiation coming at you from these smaller cell towers. By the way, they're not so small. From what I understand, they're around the size of refrigerators. So they're also a little unsightly. What I'm asking to do is to do a presentation at a work session or a town board meeting. I'm going to bring subject matter experts on this who can give you more information than I can. In your folders also are city ordinances that have been enacted to try to address these cell tower facilities. And I was reading through them, and one of them, the Verizon withdrew its application to install 5G in that town because there were expenses. There were fees for permits and other expenses that they did not want to set a precedence for accepting. And that is part of this law. It suggests that we have expenses for individual cell towers, and I already mentioned the other things that we can require. There's a lot of peer-reviewed studies on wireless radiation. There's not as many on 5G because 5G is so new, but there are some, and I can provide them. I would have to provide them electronically so you can link to the abstract. So I guess I'll send that to Richard and Tina and to distribute to you so you can read them at your leisure. Okay. So I guess that's the main part of what I want to do. Can I get a date or at your earliest convenience for this kind of presentation?
We'll do it at a workshop. I'm just going to open up my calendar here.
Okay.
Day before Thanksgiving.
How long would you need to prepare yourself?
Oh, well, I don't think we'd need a lot of time to prepare because I'm bringing the subject matter experts who already know, are familiar with this.
Do you want to come in November, or do you want to wait till December?
Oh, I think I'd like to come in November if that's possible.
Do you know the subject matter availability?
I don't. I think they can make themselves available most of the time. But if you could give me 2 dates as possibilities, then probably would be not a problem.
Well, part of the issue is, we have the budget adoption on the 20th, so we're not going to do it that night.
Yeah, that's
27th is the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Okay. How about December then?
Yeah, that seems like a better choice.
Okay.
I mean, we could do it Wednesday, December 4th.
Okay.
That would be our pre-board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's-
pre-board,
that
we're
works.
going to be there anyway, so.
That's good.
Can I get one other date just in case if that's a bad date?
How about Wednesday, December 11th?
Okay. All right.
So if you
All
get
right.
back to us and, lock one of those in, we'll get to
Yeah,
it.
just to let you know, they've already installed these 5G cell towers in White Plains, and not in the whole city, but in parts of White Plains. So, it's a concern.
Well, we also, they were putting whip antennas out there.
What that was?
Yeah, those are, they call them DAT antennas.
That's nothing to do with 5G?
It probably does.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
Okay.
But we would like to get ahead of this because every time we get caught, a lot of towns are going to get caught unaware, and then they'll just come in and roll right over you.
Right. Right.
Do you know if any of these laws have been enacted yet in other communities?
Well, yeah. If you look on the left side of your folder, there's some ordinances that are outlined. So.
I wonder if any have been challenged. I saw that $50,000 bond. That'd be they were crying about I think it was our fee for a cell tower application is $20,000. Come to find out that doesn't really cover it. They were challenging that in court, and then when we went through our records, we discovered that actually it should be more like $40,000. So we're gonna have to update that.
Right. Well, people were talking about, I saw some things like $500 per cell tower. And, well, read the ordinances that people have.
$500 is not gonna cover,
No, but there's like lots of cell towers. It's every 300 to 500 feet.
it doesn't matter though. I can imagine that even if there was hundreds of them at $500 a pop, the amount of administrative activity that's gonna take when they come into a town is just gonna be overwhelming.
Well, but that's in addition to other fees, though. Yeah, so.
I just saw the amount of time and resource that went into this one application for one tower.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
you sat through it, so.
right. Well, we can put whatever amount we think is appropriate.
Yeah.
So, the amount is up to the town to determine.
$1 million,
Yeah,
solid $1 million, and we put that into some programs.
all right. Well,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. All right. Let's flip it over. Feeble, I can't open this up. Vacancies, Recreation Commission, 1.
We have
Approval.
a candidate, I believe, that they're going to schedule interviews with for the Recreation Commission.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yes.
Good. Still a vacancy. Approval of vouchers, General.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion adjourned.